Okay. So create database training is the basic command for creating a database. Create database and then database name. Okay. So while you are creating, okay, let me close this window and then start again. So just click the databases, or then even if you click here the server name, you can click anywhere. Okay, just click here and then click this new query window. This is the place where you will be writing your queries. Okay, and then the default database shown here, that means the query window, this query window, all this query window, this is related to this database. That means whatever you write in here and then execute it, that operation will be performed on this master database. Okay, if you want to change this database, just change it to model and then run the query whatever you have written here against this model database. So that operation will be performed on the model database. Okay, you can choose any database you want to run, and then you need to make sure whatever query you are running in this query window, you need to make sure you are running against the correct database, whichever database you want to, because if by chance you don't see this and then if you run a query in another database which you don't want to, you will be into problems. Like if you are dropping a table in some database, if you want to drop a table in database A and then if a database B is selected here, okay, so you will be into problems. So you need to make sure which database you are running your queries on. Okay, so if you want to create a new database, you should be in the master database. That's how it knows the database you are creating, and that information will be stored in the master database. Okay, let's create the database with the command create database and then database name is training. Okay, so you want to run this query or compile this query or execute it. Okay, so just select the lines which you want to run and then try to click this execute button. The shortcut is F5, or the other way is also select it and then press Ctrl E on your keyboard. Okay, even that will try to execute the query. Okay, for now let's just run this, select the create database training and then execute it. Okay, see, this is a error window or the results window or the messages. It will give you the information about your query after processing. Did it give an error or did it successfully run? So here we'll be seeing command completed successfully. That means this command, there are no errors, it ran successfully. Okay, now you want to see if the database training got created in your database engine. Okay, let's click databases and then maybe it's not refreshed. Try to click databases and then refresh it. Now you will see a new database called training, and then if you click under that, you will see the basic structure, the basic template which was used from the model database. Okay, this model database has the information of the basic structure, so it will take that basic structure and then it will create this basic structure. But then if you go and see anything, just click now, there will be no database diagrams under this. I'll tell you what is database diagrams. There is no tables. That means the user defined tables. These are the system tables that came from the template. Okay, and then these are the file tables which you will be creating here, the user defined. Okay, and then these are the views, the system views, and then the system tables, whatever you see the system, those are created by the template. Okay, programmability. So this is all the structure. If you see functions, if you click table valued functions, there is nothing. If you click scalar valued functions, there is nothing. All these are different folders like structure. Okay, you can dig down to the object level. Okay, all these are called objects, like table objects, view objects, synonym objects. All these are called different types of objects. Okay, for now our database got created, the training database. Okay, this is one way of doing it by writing query in SQL Server. Do I have any issue? Okay. So in SQL Server, whatever you want to perform, you have two ways. One is by writing a query, okay, and then the other way is using the graphical user interface. Okay, see, you can also create a database by right clicking on the databases. Okay, click on the databases, right click, and then do new database, and then this is by using the graphical user interface. Okay, database name, if you want to create a database called training, okay, give that database name, and then this is the owner. Let's take it as default for now. Okay, and then these are the different options which you can choose. This is the logical name, and then this is the log name. I'll try to explain what are these two options. Okay, but then for now, let's see. Let's give the database name as training, and then just click OK. But then what you can expect, it will obviously give an error because there is already a database called training. Okay, see, it gives an error saying that create failed for database training. Okay, an exception occurred while executing a statement or a batch. Database training already exists. Choose a different database name. The error is really simple. You can understand it by reading it. Okay, so let's just give training 2. Okay, and then just click OK. See, now you have the second database called training. Even this have the same default structure. Okay, that's the creating of database. Okay, and then open properties, right click the training database, or let me do this again, databases, new databases, and then let's do training 3. Okay, and then these options which are shown here, these two are called the data file and the log file. What are data file and what is a log file? So now we know how to create a database. Inside a database, you have data file and log file. What is a data file? Data file means it stores all your data. Okay, has all the data information. Okay, and then the log file means it has all the operations performed or queries. Okay, so for example, if you want to create a table and then store some data in it, okay, like 2 customers. The customer 1 is customer ID as 1, customer name is say A, okay, and then second customer is B, his name is B. Okay, that A and B, those data values will be stored in this data file, and then the operations, like you might have written some query to insert these 2 customers into the table. Okay, so that operation will be in the log file. Log is like whatever you are doing on the database. Data file is storing that data. Okay, that's the basic difference between the data file and the log file. There are more details towards it. We will talk about it in DBA. Okay, when we talk about the database administration. Okay, now we know that these two are the data file and the log file. And then see, these are the file type. This is the data file, this is the log file, and then it has a file group. Okay, file group is nothing but a group of files together is called file group. Okay, I'll try to explain how do you create a file group. Okay, these are the initial sizes. Okay, when you create a database, it takes some space, it takes some initial size. Okay, for data it will just give as 4 MB. That's the default. You can increase it or decrease it, okay, depending upon your requirements. And then this is the log file. Both are the files, and then they need some space. Okay, and then once you start inserting lots of data, these sizes will be increasing. Okay, and then this is the auto growth. Auto growth in the sense, initially you give 4 MB of data to the data file, 4 MB of size to the data file. Okay, what happens if you are inserting lots of data and that 4 MB is filled? Okay, then what happens is you can set this auto growth on. That means it will automatically grow. Okay, so you can you have different options for the auto growth. You can just mention in percentage, like if you have 100 initial 100 MB size, and then if that's filled, then it will grow by 10%. Okay, and then in megabytes you can also give in megabytes, how much megabytes it will grow. Okay, and then this is the limited in the sense, if you are if you just give in percentage 10%, then and then your initial size is 100 megabytes. Okay, and then your disk space on your server is 1 GB. Okay, after few days that 1 GB will be filled, and then it will throw an error for all the operations saying your disk space has been filled out. Okay, so you don't want that to happen, because all your applications will stop suddenly. Okay, that's the reason you will just give lesser than what you have on your disk. If your disk is 40 GB, you may want to expand your SQL Server database until 30 GB. 10 GB you may use it for other purposes, or you want to be on the safer side. Once your database reached 30 GB, you can write some queries which will automatically email you. Okay, email you saying that the database size is running out of space, or it's close to disk space. Once you see that email, you can go ahead and add new space onto your machine, new disk space onto your machine. Okay, that's all included here. Unlimited means you may want to just do unlimited, like it will run some way, it will, if everything is filled out, it will run out of space and then you will get error. But then there are obviously another ways of not throwing an error. Like as said, you will get an email and then you will be informed even before you get an error, and then you will take the actions accordingly. Okay, so let's just cancel it. So that's the auto growth and maximum size. And then these are the paths where your data file and log file will be created and will be saved. Okay, and this is the file names you want to put. Okay, and then just to cancel. So those are the different different files. Okay, and then there is one more thing. Data file has an extension of MDF. That means master data file. That means it's storing the data. Okay, so if you create a database, and then every database will have a data file and a log file. Okay, and then if you create a data file with a name, say training _ data, and the extension will be MDF. That means you can identify, you can see MDF and then say it's a master data file. Okay, and then for log file, it will, the extension is LDF. Okay, log data file. Okay, it will have the extension as LDF. Okay, so that way you can identify your data file and a log file. Okay, so that's the basics of creating a database. You can create it by query or you can create it by graphical user interface. Okay, so that's the basics of data file and a log file. Excuse me. So now we know creating the database. We have created the database using the DDL command called create. Okay, we have created a structure. Now let's see how we can insert our data. Okay, let's talk about insert statement. I can go step by step like this, but then if I go this way, like creating a database and then inserting data, that will be easy for you to understand. Okay, let's do step by step. Okay, let's do the insert data. That means we want to insert 2 customers in our table. Okay, even before that we want to create a table now. Okay, you can't insert the data without having a table, right? Okay, so you want to create that structure. So let's do create a table. Okay, the basic structure is create table, table name, and then open bracket, okay, and then you want to provide your column 1 and then column data type and then null or not null. This is the first column. Okay, and then you may have same second column in the same way. Okay, column 2 and then column data type and then if null or if it's not null. Similarly you can have third column. Okay, and then close your bracket, and then similarly you can have any number of columns. Okay, this is the basic structure of for creating a table. You are using DDL command called create. That means you are creating a structure. That's the reason you are using DDL command, and then you are creating a table. Okay, and then you will just give your table name here, whatever you want to call it, and then you can have any number of columns. Okay, and then each column will be separated by comma. Okay, and then what if this is the column name, this is a column name. Okay, and then you can't just put column name with having some spaces inside it. Okay, it will give you an error. You have to have no spaces. If you want to have space, you will enclose that column name inside brackets. That way it treats that space also as a column name, including that space as a column name. Okay, if you don't do that, if you don't do the square brackets, it will give you an error. Okay, but there are some standards followed by each organization for creating columns, how the column names need to be specified, how the table names need to be specified. All this, the standards will be created by each organization. Okay, you whenever you join a company, you need to know the standards and then you need to follow those standards. Okay, so this is the creation of a table. Okay, let's go ahead and create the table. For commenting any query, you can just do this. Okay, so now we will create a table. Okay, create table and then what's the table name. Okay, let's say we want to insert customers, so we will create a table called customers. Okay, and then open bracket, and then what's your first column, customer ID, and then the data type is integer. Okay, and then null, not null. Okay, what is null, not null? See, we are collecting some information for customers. Okay, customer first name, and then customer middle name, and then customer last name. Okay, you will just go to each person and then ask their first name, last name, and middle name. Okay, first name, let's say Satish. Okay, and then the middle name is, I don't have a middle name. Okay, so unknown, and then my last name is Dekonda. Okay, this unknown can be represented by null. That means we don't know the information. The information is unknown. So in this place we can just enter null. That means there is no data available for that column, for this particular row. This is called rows, and then these three are column names. Okay, so I don't know the information for that. That is called null. Okay, and then if I want to add another column called date of birth, okay, I'll just add date of birth. Okay, date of birth, some date of birth. Okay, 2012-01-001. Okay, so that's the date of birth. See, here we can say that every person will have a date of birth for sure. Okay, okay, and then they might not have middle name. That's the reason you can say if this column 1 is first name, and then this column 2 is middle name, and then this column 3 is the date of birth. So for column 1, the first name, everyone has a first name. Okay, so not null. That means you cannot insert null here because every person has a first name, that's for sure. And then column 2 is a middle name. Some people may not have middle names. Okay, so null is allowed. That means whatever the data you want to insert into table, you want to maintain that data integrity. That means whatever you are inserting into the table, that should have some meaning, a real meaning. Okay, you just don't want to enter all crap data or dummy data. Okay, you want to give only correct information. Okay, so in column 3 it's a date of birth, so every person has a date of birth, so I will not allow nulls. So I will create my application. Whenever I'm writing a web form or something, it will ask for my first name, last name, and date of birth, everything, and then there will be a star mark at the end saying that you need to enter this information. That means you cannot enter this application without having that information, so that's mandatory. Okay, in the same way the null behaves for a table. That will constrain the data which you are inserting into the table. So customer ID, every person who is joining our company or is under our company with selling some purchasing some product or anything, so every person will be assigned a customer ID. Okay, so I will just do not null. That means it will not allow nulls into this field. Field means a column name. Okay, both are same. And then the customer first name. Okay, and then this one you will do by varchar, maybe 100. Okay, so that's the data type you are providing. So the customer ID is always an integer. Okay, so that's the reason I put it as integer. Other than integer, you cannot insert a value into this customer ID field. Okay, customer first name is varchar, so you you may enter characters in this field. Okay, you have to provide that space, okay, or else it will give you an error. And then customer first name is also not null. Customer last name not null. Everyone has a last name, okay. And then customer middle name worker 100. And then you may have nulls here. If you put not null here, your application may fail, because some people will come back and say, that they don't have the middle name, okay. And then comma, and then date of birth. Date of birth is a date time, right? So you will just give date time data type, and then not null, and then close the bracket. So that's your structure of the table. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns, and then it has the data types, and it has the not null and null properties. Okay, so let's create that table. Okay, so if you want to execute, you may have anything here in this, like you may write any queries, any number of queries in this query window. But then if you don't select anything and then try to click this execute, all the queries in this window will be executed. Okay, let's see. If I just run it directly without selecting anything what I want, it will throw an error, incorrect syntax near this. Okay, but if you just select these few lines and then execute it, only those lines will be executed. Okay, so whenever you are running a query or when you join a company, you need to make sure that you are running the correct query, because you might have something else here which you don't know, like if these are somewhere down and then you don't see them. Okay, and then you just think that only this is here, and then you run it, and then obviously this will be ran, and then you will be into problems if that query causes some problem. Like if you are deleting a table, if there is a query called delete a table here, and then you don't know that, and then you create this, that table will be deleted. So you want to make sure what you are running in your query window. Okay, let's do this, create table, and then execute it. And you have to watch this also, in which database you are creating this table, master database. But then no, you are supposed to create this table in training database. Okay, let's just go and click that training database. Now whatever you run here, that will be run on that database. Run this. You can click execute F5, or the shortcut is Control E, or there is another shortcut Alt X, whichever you want you can use. Let me put it in here. Execute button, or F5, or Control E, or Alt X, whichever is comfortable, you can use those. Okay, now let's select these and then do execute. Okay, it says command completed successfully. Okay, now go to training and then see, this is a table, right? So this will be created under tables. There is nothing, just click tables and then refresh it. You have created a table called dbo.customers, but then you have just specified customers. What is this dbo? dbo is a schema, a default schema. dbo means default database owner. Okay, dbo is database owner. It's a schema. The schema means, for example, you have an application. Okay, for example, you have an application. You have an application, and then you have a table called customers. Okay, and then you have another application 2. Even that has some it serves some other purpose. Okay, if you are selling if you have health insurance, if suppose for example your company has a health insurance and then it also provides the auto insurance. Okay, now you have two different applications, health insurance and auto insurance. So the customers in health insurance may not be in auto insurance, right? So you want to have two tables, one for auto insurance and the other for car insurance, sorry, auto insurance and health insurance. Okay, you want to create the same table. You cannot create the table with same names. That in that situation you will create a table like customers underscore auto and customers underscore health. Okay, so this way you can create and then you can name your tables differently. But then what I have is, initially I had only auto insurance, and then after a few years I want to start health insurance also. Now I don't want to create all my application, all my web pages, all my databases separately. Like I don't want to create everything from scratch. I want to use the same code, the Java code, the .NET code, whatever code is, everything I want to use the same thing. So in that case I want to maintain the table structure, table name, everything in the same way. Okay, so what I will do is I will create a schema DBO. The default is DBO. Initially whenever you create, you will create a table, any object will be created under the schema called DBO. That's the default schema. Without the default schema you can never create any object. Okay, so that's the default schema. Now what I will do is I will just create a new schema called auto, and then I just put a dot here. Okay, so that's separated by dot, auto dot customer, and then I will just change that to, in my first case, like if I have only one application, my table was customers. Okay, and then when I'm creating the second applications, I want to use the same table name. Okay, I will do in a different schema, and then this one I will change from DBO, or I can put it as same. Okay, so that way I can create two tables with under two different schemas. Okay, that's the schema. So in a schema you can create any number of tables, any number of objects. You can separate it by your use, by your application, by your requirements. Okay, that's the schema. The default schema is the DBO, database owner. Okay, that's the reason even if we didn't specify any schema, it took DBO as a default. Okay, so let's click the dbo.customers. Now you see columns. Just click columns. All columns you have created here, customer ID, customer first name, last name, all will be specified here. Integer, in customer ID, integer, not null, if nulls are allowed or not, last name, middle name, date of birth. Okay, if you don't specify anything here, null or not null, by default it will consider as allowing nulls. Okay, if you don't specify anything, it will take as nulls. Okay, so now we have a table structure by writing a query. Now as I said, we can also create a table by using graphical user interface. For creating a database using graphical user interface, we right clicked on databases. If you want to create a table inside training database, you want to right click on tables, right click and then new table. Here you can provide your column name. If I just want to do customer ID, and then the data type is, you can choose from the drop down list, just do integer and then see allow nulls or not allows. Can't see it again. Okay,